Hey, a couple things today. I know I usually keep my intro short. First of all, sorry for the break. I was moving. Second of all, if you could like the video, that'd be sick. Third of all, if these Trickster changes go through, I will do Trickster from Ash to Red the second they go through. So make sure to follow the Twitch if you're not. Finally, if you happen to like the background music, I did in fact make it myself, and I had a song come out recently called Oblivion, so if you could check that out, that'd be kind of cool. Okay, I'm done now. I promise. I'm done. The developer update that was released a couple days ago came with a lot of new and exciting changes that will be coming into the PTB, but also, obviously, as always, some controversial changes as well. Starting off with a topic we can all agree on, Garden of Joy and Red Forest are both getting reworks, and the crazy part about that is that Red Forest was just reworked. Extremely ice-cold take incoming, nothing hot about this. If you have to rework every single map you've released, and you might have to rework the map you just reworked, chances are your map design team is horrible. In my thousands of hours of gaming, I have never seen a company fuck up map design this bad. I would love if you went and watched my last video. I put so much time into it, and I talk about the map design team as well. It's up in the top right corner. Like I said, I'm sure this is not a crazy opinion. I don't think anyone, no matter how casual of a gamer you are, I don't think anyone thinks it's normal to have to rework a map you literally just reworked. I'm seeing quite a bit of backlash about a lot of things in this update, but like I said, it's not very controversial that these maps need changes. Garden of Joy's main building is just completely broken, and Red Forest is way too big of a map for about 60% of killers in the game. It's nice to finally see balancing revolve around M1 killers and not just the nurses and blights of the world. However, that does bring in a topic of discussion, which is, if we're balancing around M1 killers, is that not just going to make the broken killers more broken? If we're going to release maps that are smaller and make the bigger maps smaller, such as Irie and Red Forest both being shrunk down, does that not give the nurses and the blights of the world more advantage? It's funny because from an outside perspective, we all know that this game will never be fully balanced, strictly because of how wide the power range of the killers are. There will never be a map that's balanced for Trapper, and also balanced for Nurse, and also balanced for Blight, and also balanced for Dredge and Spirit, and every other killer in this game. The reworks we've already seen are perfect examples of that. The Irie rework, the Borgo rework, and the Red Forest rework, which looked great, but was a giant failure in motion, which is why they're reworking the map they just reworked. Okay, we can't sit on this topic forever, so here's my final opinions on the map changes. I think of all the maps to rework, these are two good choices, and I'm excited to see a lot of the visual clutter on Red Forest go away. It doesn't matter if the map looks great if it plays like absolute shit. I'm talking about Nostromo, Red Forest, and Garden of Joy. I'm not kidding when I say I could talk about the ineptitude of this company's map design team for an hour straight. But we're not going to do that. We're going to move on. Made for this. Oh, made for this. I'm seeing so many people saying this perk is so done for. This perk is never going to get used again. Guys, all they did was shift it from a chase perk to an anti-tunnel perk. It's really not that bad of a change. For people that don't know, Made for This is a perk that allows you to run 3% faster when injured. It was controversial because it also has a secondary effect. It rewards you for being injured. And in higher elo lobbies, it is running rampant. Side note, but do you guys remember when Made for This first released? And there was that big division of it's way overpowered and it doesn't even do anything. And you could just really easily separate who's a compy survivor player and who's a casual that has no idea what they're doing. Like, yeah, if you're running in a straight line into the corner of the map, 3% is not going to help you. But obviously, as time has gone on and everyone has learned now, 3% is insane. A lot of people say they'd rather have exhaustions like Lithe and Sprint Burst be meta again because at least they don't have to face uncertainty, which is a very key word with that perk. Bots also made a great point that it makes cheating harder to detect because most people that cheat in DBD use subtle cheats, meaning they're very hard to notice by the naked eye. When Made for This is in there, it makes it even harder to notice. So now with the change, that uncertainty goes away and you only have to be uncertain when they are deep wounded. I actually think this is a really fun change for the perk because if you stack it with Off the Record, it's an anti-tunnel perk. If you stack it with Dead Hard, it's a chase extension perk. I think it's fun, and I think a lot of people are going to realize later that this perk is nowhere near dead. If I could play devil's advocate for a second, I would love to have seen this perk go up to 4%. I know that sounds psychotic, but if it's only in effect when you're deep wounded, I think that would have been funny. Also, as you guys know, I'm a giant Legion hater, so to see a perk that will directly make Legions miserable is a W in my book, always and forever. We're also getting some player cards as well as icons. Obviously, the ones they showed us were really underwhelming and boring, but that's because they're still a work in progress, and I'm sure the ones that actually release officially will be more interesting. They look suspiciously similar to Overwatch's banners in the way they actually lay out on your screen, and with the communities having a lot of crossover, I think it's pretty cool. Now, for the thing you've been waiting for, and the thing that I've been waiting for, my boy Trickster. I don't hold the general opinion on this killer, so I'll put my opinion in here somewhere, but a lot of people hate Trickster. If I'm remembering right, it was Kaido who said in a video the reason people hate Trickster so much is because in 9 out of 10 situations on Survivor, there's nothing to do against a Trickster and you just die. Personally, I don't find that to be true. I think his counterplay is just breaking LOS, but I'm also a grimy, disgusting gamer that plays this game too much, and I understand I'm not a part of the majority here. For the casual player, I can fully understand why this killer would be frustrating, especially with any kind of ping difference. Because I've been hit by Tricksters through walls plenty of times, and I'm not talking about through cracks in the wall or little windows. I'm talking about ping diff. The reason I don't hate this killer on Survivor is because 1, I love to play him, and 2, Huntress is right there. Now, what are these changes? Like I said, I'm a day late to this topic, so I'm sure you've seen shit on it already. If you haven't, you're welcome to go to Dead by Daylight's page and read their dev update. But I'm just going to give you the synopsis. In Behavior's favor here, Trickster's actually a really difficult killer to balance because he plays so differently on controller than he does on KBM. But again, Behavior did design this killer, so how much favor can we really give them? Anyways, tangent aside, they are completely removing Trickster's recoil because they said it's much easier to manage on KBM than it is on controller. And though that's understandable for controller players, you're just making KBM Tricksters even harder to face. They also moved him from a 110 killer to a 115 killer, or a 4.4 meters per second killer to a 4.6 meter per second killer. I think that was a terrible call. And his terror radius has been increased to account for the faster speed, so his terror radius is now 32, like other 115 killers. So let me make this clear. They completely removed recoil and made him a 115 killer even though he throws projectiles. To put even simpler, they removed his skill floor fully. A killer that has a ranged attack now has 0 recoil and the speed of a killer that doesn't have a ranged attack. Now we gotta understand, these are PTB changes. There is a chance that they're just testing really extreme variables to see where they can find the middle ground that might actually work for both controller and KBM. That's the whole point of a PTB, right? So here's to hoping that they were just trying something really stupid for funsies, and these are not going to live servers. Because of all the killers to need broken tweaks like this, please give them to Hillbilly. You guys remember Main Event? The ultimate ability that is absolutely broken and there's 0 counterplay if it starts? And again, I actually believe Trickster does have counterplay, and I'm still going to be the one to say Main Event does not have counterplay. It is completely RNG based if you're in the right place at the right time when Main Event pops. And if the killer has any kind of brain, they're obviously not going to pop it at a high wall. They're going to wait until you're out in the open. Main Event used to take 30 hits, meaning you'd have to hit 30 knives to have Main Event. So if they wanted to, you know, test something new, they could probably knock it down to 20, right? They knocked it down to 6 blades. They knocked Main Event down to 6 blades. They made it reduced from 10 seconds down to 5, but that doesn't matter when it only takes 6 blades to get the ability. They also had the audacity to say it would require the killer to use it more strategically. Come on now. And then they reworked the add-on, so you're probably thinking, oh, they probably removed the ones where you could get Main Event in fewer blades, right? No. Fizz Spin Soda reduces it down from 6 to 4, and G-Wound's Autograph reduces it down even further by 1. Do you know what that means? You can get Main Event in 3 blades. You can get what I would say to be the second most lethal ultimate ability in this entire game in half of a health state. Now, on a positive note, just for a second, the Iridescent change sounds super fun. For each blade hit, you gain 1% haste up to 7% haste until you miss a blade. I think that's fun. I think that's harmless. Do I think it's strong enough to be an Eerie? Not if it stops at 7%. But we all know already that a lot of the Eries in this game are worse than a lot of the purples. Shit, Knight's best add-on is a brown. So we don't really need to have the discussion of, should this be Eerie? I just think it's a fun add-on and I'll definitely be using it. Anyways, the conversation is not done here. It'll continue in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys think about these changes. My overall opinion was that it's actually not a bad update. And again, they're using the PTB, a public test build. And I think a lot of people forget that there's no guarantee these are going to live servers. Did I just critique the hell out of it? Yes, but I'm not saying devs, you failed, because these changes haven't gone to live servers yet. It's like the final Mori thing all over again. So in behavior's favor, actually, I will say, y'all need to not freak out and say I hate the devs the second a weird change goes into the PTB. Wait for it to hit live servers, then say you hate the devs. Jokes aside, I have no animosity towards the devs at all. I want to see this game do great, like I say all the time, which is why I do little criticisms and commentaries. I love the game, I always will. Anyways, I'll see you guys next week, and comment down below what you think of these changes. I will definitely be reading all of them, and I'll see you in the next one.